Ah, all works take longer than they should, but production is at last improving. The building trades have learned to heed my specifications. Work orders regulate their habits.
It's an army under lash. You might as well push them into war as force their arts and crafts.
You must admit bitumen was a good idea. Not for a moment has fuel been lacking. Watertight pitch makes hellish heat, as well as perpetual torches to light up the work at night. And the flames aloft, when there's no moon, the noon tiles gleam like sapphire, lapis lazuli, and rubied copper. By that heap of beacons, I dare the thunderbolts to find me after dark.
You think their gods will be dazzled by ersatz stones and girlish colors, leaving only Enkidu for you to fight already? Shall I tie one hand behind your back?
Without sarcasm, now tell me what you think. Does he abhor my works? Or will they fill him with delight? I wonder if he's really ugly.
These beauty lovers want him in your place regardless. A man who lies with the beast should be stoned outside the gate, instead of welcomed like a bridegroom. But the women have gone out with garlands to greet him already. Are you gonna let a stupid game of force bring all your works to desolation?
No man exists with greater strength than mine.
But an animal may be faster and more cunning. Still, all things are reported to me, and I'll ferret out a weakness. It's possible that by some device we may survive him.
And not by trickery.
The trick is to forestall the Rector's tricks.
Your wariness has not been wasted. Had not your one true God set his face against my enemies, no doubt I'd long since fallen to poison, or my own unreckoning. Yet, I do not want to keep the rod on ring on Shaddai's summons. If I deserve my power in my life, I must contest the categories of life and power. It's the law of nature that spirit be sustained by gross faculties of body.
Strolling back from an idle bout of chess, give me leave to catch my breath and savor your joy at seeing me again. I'm glad to find that you too are still alive.
Oh, hello, old dog face. Your beer's been waiting. I see you landed the prince of the peaceable kingdom. What do we have here? A puny bow.
His present to you, the scepter he rules by, for making fires when you're all alone. Her Highness had given him the iso recto tetrahedron.
That was the lure that did it.
I couldn't say what did it.
I think I'll tighten the string and play it pizzicato while I wait for New Year's Day. Or perhaps pass the time like a bard, thrumming deeds I've never done before.
She called it her one private jewel, but she gave him another, as we would have called it back home. The goddess favors Enkidu, and everyone knows it. You can smell incense in the streets.
That dumb gorilla will have the mob on his side before the feast even begins. You should have kept him out of sight.
Of course I brought him in after dark, but how do you disguise such a specimen? A swarm of honeybees was waiting at the gate.
Meanwhile, the rector's busy transmogrifying bees to hornets.
In his mind, it's all over but the acclamation. He began to taste the restoration as soon as he saw his royal sister about to be disburdened of her natural imperfection by the holy savage. Being the clairvoyant hound of Gilgamesh, I bristled with presentiment. The sparrow's horror had a sudden shadow on the sun. You should have seen the ferocity in him before she sheared his mane and dressed his loins. Without the lady's help, I would rather have tried to lasso a crazed elephant.
If you killed him, I would have pardoned you.
So lightly now you disclaim the threat that frightened me the most. Still, I tried to disobey my orders. Nearly in a palsy, I fitted a silver-tipped arrow to my bow. It's not easy to aim at the son of the goddess when your nerves are shaking like a cornered rabbit's. He hadn't seen us yet, but he heard the shaft, caught it in his hand, and flung it back at me like a javelin, but twice as fast. Thank God, it must have been deflected by the volley I'd ordered in my panic. Twice, with our rector's shrieks splitting the silence of high noon, we skirted a band of sky. But Enkidu stepped out among the arrows, as if they were children streaming out to play. It was eerie, no shadow, no echo, no engagement. Our guides broke cover and ran. One of them, he got on the back of the head with his banner stone thrown by the handle. The other two he overtook in easy bounds and spilled their brains by smashing the skulls together.
I'm glad you missed. Your blind devotion would have disgraced me.
Or cost you my worthless life. What saved me and mine was his awe of the lady. He saw that he was naked and retired to the forest with the animals that had been with him at the watering hole. Next day, nevertheless, he returned in the same condition, still shy, but not timid, like the rabbits and foxes and wolves and gazelles and lions. Like us, they hung back to watch the unveiling from a distance.
What unveiling?
The unveiling of a whore. How much distance?
We couldn't make out much from our side of the grove, and his grace nearly had a conniption when we refused to take him along as master of ceremonies. Still, I reckon there's not much to doubt about the consummation. 3 days later, she led Enkidu out from the woods, dressed like you and wearing the iso-recto tetrahedron. The animals had fled, but he was no more innocent than she, who was now laughing at his familiarities.
What familiarities?
That's all there is to tell. After the wedding, he was brought back here for all the feastings of a potentate. The rest is detail.
Details are what you're paid for, Captain. Details are all I want. A general needs no report on net results. Did she dance?
We couldn't see much from our side of the grove, but the rector was skirling on that weird pipe of his, the thin monotony. It stood my hair on end and would have swayed a cobra on his haunches for 20 miles, the only sound. Then his music stopped, an officious cue for her cry of the maidenhead. It came like a fainting afterthought.
What courage to have danced in her very terror.
That's your imagination of a Gilgamesh-y girl. Enkidu has no horns, and he isn't ugly. If she trembled, 'twas not in fright.
You mistook her poise. I think she stood with frozen veins, dreading to be seized. No shudders are invisible.
All right, I'm no psychiatrist. but she opened up her robe.
As she'd been instructed. But she didn't make any advances.
I didn't say Enkidu was backward. Standing knee to knee, he didn't need a schoolmarm's prompting.
No, kid. Were they like dogs blinded by instinct?
Dogs don't make love when they couple, or talk. Enkidu had speech to learn. She showed him how to use his tongue.
It's only natural that he loved her. But the converse doesn't hold, and she had no use for a monster.
You seem to think that that woman is as fastidious as a white raven. Haven't you seen the way she walks? For her, that princely changeling comes from an unwashed ruffian. On the way home, she was in his tent at every bivouac, and in the morning, she was always starry-eyed.
Why don't you just carry the fellow and truss him upside down in a pole?
Sooner than be tied, he would have gnawed off all 4 paws. Possibly, you'll kill him yet, but I wish I would have done it before she brought him sorrow. In putting on the new man, he gave up the old. Old littermaids no longer listen to his calls.
A fool's exchange. He's no smart trader. Before an ordeal, Horan cannot help.
False hope, my friend. Even when he beclouded with fear the grief of being shunned by his animals, the honeymoon bereaved him of neither strength nor speed. Dissipation is his tonic, funeral his resurrection. One sundown we set up camp near some town that was terrorized by a rogue lion he had tamed. The shepherds came to him to ask his help. By my leave, he set off to tell the beast about mankind's sheep laws. But seizing another ewe in its teeth, the beast ignored his warnings. In an amazed fury, he threw off his clothes, grabbed the lion, and in half a minute tore the life out of him with his bare hands. When the fury left him and he saw that he had killed, he picked up the carcass, twice his own weight, and carried it to Lilimin, asking her what to make of murder.
Did you say he sometimes sleeps?
As much as a cat, as much or as little, sleeps and leaps indifferently. By the pain of guilt, he has earned the praise that men reserve for a mighty hunter. Like a big carnivorous cat, he finds that he also relishes the blood of other prey, the animals that used to flock to him for safety.
So he's aching for a more momentous sacrifice.
His Grace harped on that theme in his religious instruction. Expiation of all kills by killing for the gods. To win back the rotten ring and save the people from the raging mountain bull who suppresses the numberless women of Ishtar city and all her livestock. Of course, to me, the Rector affects to be duping a victim too ignorant to suspect that the famous skill of Gilgamesh will be backed by the sacred force of custom. Of course, I never left them alone. You should make that a rule, as long as you live.
What difference does it make? Let the schemer preach. Conspiracy's too linguistic for an aboriginal ear.
That harlot's in the plot. How does she ply the golem's remorse?
Their pillow talk was not for ears of mine. All I know is that Enkidu battens on tales of Gilgamesh. He who never saw a wall now imagines himself commanding a tower. He who never heard of gods now imagines splendid liturgies in Gilgamesh's raiment. He who never heard of gods now calls himself the champion of Ishtar.
Yet from inborn slavery to her, the poor fish didn't know he lacked the air.
But fighting in water, that fish won't feel out of place. Don't count on having time to size him up. He won't wait for you to start it.
Well, if the first move gives an inch, he and I will strike at the same time. He will feed the immortal Magus. I'll play the dirge while women mourn his mortal parts.
Enkidu has merely unlocked Lilimin's perfume for a royal recluse. She's not one to lose her fragrance in the center like a worn-out cake of soap. It seems that Gilgamesh is about to find that such virtue renews itself in the giving.
Yes, the 3 of us could be dead already. You watch the 8th. I'll watch the Ayatollah.